Okay, so today I definitely have something special for you guys. We're talking about the 10 greatest 80s solos. Now, this is just my opinion, of course. I would love to know what your 10 greatest ones are, because I'm going to stick to that hard rock, hair metal kind of scene of stuff, but I would be curious to know what you guys would have as your top 10. And I've got some very special guests here today. Ben Eller, Tim Pierce, Doug Rappoport, Michael Nielsen, all rocking some sick solos for you. So thank you to those guys. If you would, check out their channels linked down below. If you would, subscribe to this channel as well. And if you want to, check out my free 5-day fretboard challenge. So without further ado, let's get our 80s on. Okay, so up first is the Runaway solo, played by Tim and written by Tim. So funny story about this solo, I learned it a long time ago, and my guitar instructor, Nate, if you happen to be watching this, I remember him teaching, and he's like, it's funny, this doesn't sound like anything that Richie normally plays. Turns out, years later, I found out it was not Richie who played this solo, it was Tim. So there's so many cool things, and Nate, after watching Tim play it, you taught me one of the parts wrong. So I love the little walk-up part, that part's so fun, and it's just building so much excitement in the solo. I remember I learned it like this. Which, it's the same notes. But watching Tim play it, I'm like, oh, he's playing that in a whole different way. And now that I hear it, I'm like, those thicker strings sound a little bit better for that. So, just an amazing solo, and absolutely love it. So thank you to Tim for playing that one, and go learn the Runaway solo. There is just a plethora of licks in it. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. It's like, this guy said we were sticking to hard rock, heavy metal. Yes, and there's one solo I wanted to bend the rules a little bit on here, just because I think it is just the greatest outro solo of all time. And that is, of course, the Rosanna outro solo. So many cool things in here. It literally, and I'm pretty sure it was just off the cuff, Luke probably took a couple passes at it or something, and just shows you, for one, how incredible Steve Lukather is. I mean, if you didn't already know that. But it's so cool to be able to improvise at a level like this, that it sounds written and it's still so melodic. It doesn't sound like a bunch of licks kind of stuck together. It's just it's one cohesive moving piece. I don't know. I think it's one of the best off the cuff improvised solos ever in history. Time after time, played by Michael Nielsen. What a cool solo. It's my favorite Zach solo of all time. And I know what some of you might be thinking, this album came out in the 90s. Well, when I say 80s, I don't necessarily mean solos that came out between 1980 and 1989. I'm talking about the style. It's 80s style. And that really did go over into 92, 93. And some of my favorite 80s albums came out in the early 90s, like the Hurricane stuff. A lot of the extreme things were very late 80s into the 90s, and it's more the style of it. This is a total 80s style solo, and I just think it sounds phenomenal. I love this one. Funny enough, Michael actually recorded this clip probably 4 or 5 years ago for me for a different video, but YouTube was going through this real heavy copyright phase where they were just taking videos down, and this is one of the videos that got flagged, I think because Michael played it so good. And I never got to use this clip. So finally I was like, hey dude, do you care if I use this clip in this video? I think we can, get by with it now. YouTube's eased up on some things. And he's like, go for it, man. So thank you to him for recording this clip years ago. But, I mean, just what a great job. Killer solo. Awesome job, Zach. Awesome job, Mike. So you knew there'd be some Nuno in here, and again, kind of getting into that early 90s thing, but still an 80s style of solo. And I think it's important, a lot of my personal favorite solos are not the most shreddy or most technical. They're very melodic, and they have very cool moments in them. You'll notice that's what I talk about a lot in all of these solos, is there's like, oh, this is really cool moment, like in the Runaway solo, that grabbed my attention, It doesn't even necessarily have to be the whole solo. So Decadence Dance, it's super melodic, kind of has that Brian May flavor to it that Nuno has a lot in his playing. And there's so many layers to it. If you think about the way the solo starts... So just look at how many things were in that little section of the solo. The dynamics that are required from your left and right hand, speed control, pinch harmonics, the real percussiveness of it, which is a signature Nuno thing. It's still melodic. And it literally has everything in it. Nuno could probably have 5 solos on here if we wanted to do a Nuno solo one. So who knows? Maybe there will be a Nuno video. Uncle Ben straight up killing it on the Wait solo. I mean, again, I was talking about how it's not the most shreddy solo, and yet it is. It's like if you could shred melody. Vito does that in his solos. Lots of little things I've taken away from this solo over the years, especially the little, I can't remember exactly. And I think Ben might have been hybrid picking that. That was interesting. I've never seen it hybrid pick before. But I literally just used that idea in the video I did about this. In the solo, I went, I'm like, oh yeah, that Vito lick. So again, Ben did such an amazing job on this one. I can always count on my old Uncle Ben. So Wait, killer solo. Probably one of the most terrifying solos on this list. The Crying in the Rain solo is my favorite John Sykes solo on any of the stuff. I mean, he has so many amazing solos on that 1987 album, but the Crying in the Rain one, which I didn't even know until I did another video about Sykes, and you guys are like, Crying in the Rain, that's not even a Sykes riff. That was like an old Whitesnake. I'm like, I didn't even know that. I just, I didn't listen to a lot of old Whitesnake. But then when I heard the two riffs, side by side, I'm like, oh man, talk about someone who took a riff and just made it their own. But the solo is like the ultimate endurance test. Like if you can make it through the solo and playing it, whew, I tried learning it. Oh my god, it doesn't end. It is absolutely relentless. So it just shows you how amazing John Sykes was. And I still genuinely feel like he was underrated. It's just like, like you have to be like ripped to play solo or something. I don't know. He had to have the craziest hand strength because he would do all this stuff and the crazy 2-3 step bends, harmonics, and all that whammy bar-ish stuff without having a whammy bar. So I don't know. I mean, again, you could pick any Sykes solo off that 1987 album and stuff off that first Blue Murder album. I'd be like, yeah, that could be one of the greatest solos of all time, without a doubt. Okay, so the You're in Trouble solo. Now, this is one where Warren DeMartini is, I think, one of the best of the best. He's in my top 5 guitarists of all time. I absolutely love Warren's style. Extremely hard to play like Warren. He is one of those guys, kind of like Eddie, who has this tricky bounce to their playing that other guys just didn't have. And it's like, oh, it's so hard to get the feel right when you play a Warren solo. Doug Rappoport is one of the only people I know who really plays Warren solos spot on like Warren. I'm like, man, you do such a good job. So I asked Doug, I was like, dude, pick whatever solo you want. I guarantee you it's one of my favorites because every solo Warren's ever played on those early Rat records are my favorite solos. So he chose You're in Trouble, and there is just a plethora of stuff. I didn't know how to play this one. I loved the solo, but now I'm like, oh man, I'm going to learn a bunch of these licks now because this is such cool Warren DeMartini isms. It is like the blueprint on playing Warren stuff. So thank you, Doug, for doing that. And yeah, what a sick solo. It's a song, to choose from. You're in Trouble. Okay, you knew there'd be some Lynch on here. Right up there with Warren, in my opinion. And they sound very similar at times, but totally different at the same time. But his feel is hard to get. He is not an easy guitarist to copy. And, Unchained the Night, I mean, for one, a very influential riff on me. I mean, like, that little walk down there, that influenced, like, my whole riff writing life when I learned this riff. And the solo, another one of those that has so many quintessential elements inside of Lynch's playing. I mean, you have the very cool melodic opening. Kind of a fast part. I love the walk down that he does. I mean, look at that. Like, these are essential Lynch things. I mean, there's like just a plethora of Lynch things in there that you're like, man, I'm going to steal all of that solo. And then you realize, like, oh, every Lynch solo is like this. They're just full of cool ideas. And, I mean, it's so simple, but I love the... I mean, look, I'm like, I don't do that. I wouldn't think that. I'm like... It's just a lynched up blues lick. So, I don't know. George Lynch will always be the man. Okay, so it's my turn to play one of these solos, and I had to choose one that was just extremely influential on myself, and I just think it's such a well-written solo. It's a superstitious solo from Europe with, of course, Key Marcello. Now, I love John Norum as well, but Key was always my guy. Like, I remember first time hearing Europe, and I'm like, wow, I absolutely love the way this guitarist plays, because a lot of guys didn't play major solos. You know, it was very minor-driven a lot of the time. So one of my favorite things that Key does in his solos is when he does those speed runs, it's not just one speed the whole time. He gradually slows down or speeds up in the middle of it, which is very hard to do. It requires a lot of control out of your left and right hand. And he does it in this solo too. You'll notice whenever he does the... When he walks up this run, he doesn't just walk it up one speed. It's just little subtle things like that require a lot of dynamic control out of your hands. And of course, all the crazy melodic lines, you know. Great vibrato. He turns the lick around. Again, see that? Started out fast. Slowed down right in the middle of it. Like, that stuff is tricky and hard to incorporate and make it sound good, and he does it all. And Key's just one of those guys I think never got the appreciation that he deserved because he's found. Alright, the final one I gotta have in here is the solo to 17 by Winger. You know, it's always bummed me out that Winger got so much flack because they were some of the most incredible musicians. Reb Beach, again, such an important guitarist to me personally. His VHS Cutting Loose that I had was probably one of the most influential instructional, you know, I'd say DVDs, but it was a tape back in the 1900s. And, I mean, Reb just had a huge impact on me as a player. And I remember the first song I ever heard from Winger was 17 on like a 80s greatest hits, you know, album of hair metal or something like that. And I just, on repeat, just listen to it again and again. And you hear that solo and all the riffs. I mean, it's so cool. He rips into the solo. And, you know, it's the first time I'd ever heard anybody do, like, the super extended tapping lines, like what Reb does. And I'm like, what am I even hearing right now? I don't hear that attack on the pick. And I remember that's when I eventually got the VHS. And I realized if you've never studied how Reb does his tapping stuff, it's very fascinating. He takes, like, a scale... and he taps like the next note up. I'm trying to show you over here. And instead of using his, he doesn't really use his pinky too much. To get to that next string, he takes his ring finger on his tapping hand and he flicks that next string. So you have, you know, right there. So it's hard to, I remember I spent a lot of time practicing this, and then I stopped practicing it years and years ago. I need to get back to it. But a very fascinating way of doing this stuff. Another one of those guys, I think that Reb Beach deserves a mountain of appreciation because he just wrote the coolest riffs, coolest solos. He just seems like a cool guy. So there you have it, 17. Alright gang, that'll do it for us. A big thank you to you guys for watching the video, of course, and thank you to Tim, Doug, Michael, and Ben for all contributing, putting those solos in here. They all just did such a good job. Like they did such a better job. Then I was like, man, these guys really know how to play this stuff. So I appreciate that very much. Make sure you check out their channels. Like I said, if you would subscribe to this one, check out my 5-day fretboard challenge. I'll link that down below for you. And other than that, guys, I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Get your 80s on, learn one of these solos, and let me know what your top 10 would be. All right, I'll see you all later. Bye, homies.